Good.
Good.
I just had a
See ya?
crazy thing though.
What's going on?
Talk 910 dropped us for sports. I think maybe I told
Oh,
you.
yeah. I heard
Spanish
about that. Yeah,
sports.
that
It's like,
sucks.
oh my god, and they didn't even tell us.
No.
They
It's just
recorded the show and everything.
Clear Channel.
Oh.
They're just as bad as Cumulus. They're all bad.
Yeah.
They're all bad. It's
So
terrible.
we changed. We unfortunately got over to KDOW, which is a little bit more business oriented.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
There you
so
go.
we got somewhere to go.
All right, you got
all
Mike's
set?
number? Do you need it?
I got it.
Okay. He should be ready to go. I was telling him we'd probably concentrate on the business of baseball with the minor leagues, what it's like running the organization. Tell me if you think this works. Ask him about promotions, the young guys playing, the challenge of building up something in a community where you have wealthy, but they have so many other things to go to. And then the second segment we could do, if he wants to stay for longer, we could maybe tell some baseball stories.
Sure.
You know, he's had experience with the Braves, with the Nationals, with the Giants. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's
he'll be
great.
good. He'll be terrific. And then Brian will be very good at 2:30.
Okay. He's in force now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn off my phone here. Just get out of the water. So nice.
Or 2-minute little intro.
Oh, yeah.
Just let him know.
Yep. Oh.
We'll call it back.
Yeah, we just can do our.
Record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Mike, it is Edward Brown and Bruce McGowan. Let's see, we're going to do our 2-minute little interlude, and then we're going to call you back in just a bit. So hopefully you'll answer pretty soon. Okay? Stand by. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, I talked to him about 20 minutes ago, so he said he'd be ready to go.
All right.
He's having some health challenges. He had a gallbladder removed. That's no fun.
Yeah, we were supposed to do something, and then you had to cancel it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you were supposed to do something with him?
Yeah, just I can't remember what it was, like an interview or something.
Oh, that's a shame.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's
There we go.
get your headset on.
Oh, yeah, of course. Hello. Would help.
Sorry for the sound.
Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, here we go. Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime radio sports personality. Today's show is going to be very special. Why is that?
Well, we got a little talk about the business of minor league baseball with a local guy who is a good friend of ours, Mike Shapiro, has worked in the major leagues with the Giants, the Braves, and the Washington Nationals, but he now is running his own enterprise here in single A, not single A, independent minor league ball.
Yeah, what would they consider that? Like,
You know,
single A, double A?
it's kind of in between single A and double A, I'd say, because a lot of players are journeymen. They're in their 20s. This is their last shot. Maybe they're just doing it for fun. The quality of baseball, though, is about, Mike will tell you, I think it's between single and double A.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once in a while, some guys will get called up.
Yeah, once in a while they get a shot. You know, there are guys that do this for a living. They just play minor league ball and do it seasonally. They don't make a lot of money, but it's a labor of love.
Absolutely. Okay. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question, and we're going to be giving away vacation to the first email with the correct answer. These vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. Those vacations are free. They're only request a $100 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. Check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com. And don't forget paintball. If you go to Sports Econ 101, our website, and you click right on the paintball icon, you can get 85%
Oh my
off.
goodness! Wow.
I mean, it's very incredible. And even though we broadcast here from California, these paintball venues are all around the country.
Did not know that.
So
Learn something new every day.
Okay, so go to Sports Econ 101 and click on the paintball icon. And this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding over 8%. In today's market, that's fantastic. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. It doesn't get any more conservative than that. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, and we will be right back.
Mike just called me, so give him a call now.
All right. Just going to save the file here.
I should try him if he doesn't answer.
Hello?
There we go.
Mr. Shapiro.
Hey,
It's
you know what? I saw you left me a message, but I never heard the phone ring the first time.
Yeah, my phone's done that before too. I don't know why.
My wife's phone, after 1 year, just completely crapped out on her. It started just, it was like some sort of a poltergeist got in there and got a hold of everything and threw everything.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And then they charge you for it. You know, they say, oh, you didn't take out insurance? You're going to have to get a hold of, well, wait a second. The phone's supposed to last more than a year. Well, there's no guarantee.
All right, let me just save. I just did our first 2-minute little interlude, so I'm just saving the file here.
You guys playing tonight, Mike?
Yes, we are in Sonoma.
Okay. It's Sonoma, Vallejo, you guys, and where's the fourth team?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, that's right, okay.
But you got to say it like this, Pittsburgh.
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 Pittsburgh. How are the other teams doing? About the same as you guys in terms of, attendance?
Well, we're still leading the league in attendance as we have every year.
Yeah.
But our attendance has been going down.
Yeah.
It's been a little different year this year. It's surprising to me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, if you guys are ready, let's go ahead. There we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, who do we have on the phone?
Oh, we got our old friend Mike Shapiro, who is the owner and president of the San Rafael Pacifics Independent League baseball team that plays just down the road from us, just a couple of blocks actually from where we're recording this show. For those of you that are not in California, San Rafael is located about 9 miles north of San Francisco across the Golden Gate Bridge, and Mike has had extensive experience in the major leagues working in the front offices of the Giants, the Braves, and Washington. And I would like to talk to you a little bit about the business of running minor league baseball today, Mike, first off, and talk about the challenges of trying to, this is your 5th year, trying to get this enterprise going in a very wealthy community where unfortunately people spend their dollars on a lot of other things as well.
Well, that's absolutely right, Bruce, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, the normal paradigm, particularly for independent minor league baseball, is to have your market in remote places where there isn't a lot of competition for either the leisure time dollar or your time in general, and teams have been successful in more rural and remote areas. We went against the paradigm by trying to put a minor league team in a very affluent, suburban area, close to a very dynamic city with lots of things to do. 2 major league baseball teams right here, the wine country, the ocean, Tahoe. I mean, we are in this sort of vortex of activity.
Well, I think one of the advantages you have, Mike, is the fact that you can easily walk to the ballpark from a lot of places around there.
Well, that is a huge advantage, and it is one of the things that we thought about that in creating even this type of market was we were going to make it extremely local. We were going to focus on southern Marin County primarily and try to draw as many fans that who aren't necessarily thinking, well, I'm going to go to a Giants game, or am I going to go to a Pacifics game? But no, rather, am I going to go to the movies tonight or out to dinner tonight, or should we take the kids out to a Pacifics game?
Yeah, and of course you're in a league that you guys have sort of, you're kind of like the sun, and the other teams are sort of the the planets, if you will. A team over in Pittsburgh, which is, for those that are not familiar with the Bay Area, is in the Northeast Bay, a team in Vallejo, and a team in Sonoma. So, how is the league doing, Mike? This, again, is the 5th year. You guys have won the championship, I believe, 3 of the previous 4. Are you guys surviving?
Well, we are. We are in our 5th year. We are the only remaining independent league on the entire West Coast. And frankly, we're doing pretty well here in San Rafael. We had a couple of profit last year. We're hoping to be profitable this year. Sonoma has done well, and again, they a lot of news as we have in terms of great promotions and promoting. They have 2 women playing on the team in a partnership with Francis Coppola. They had the first openly gay player on their team, so they've done, like we have, a lot of things to try to promote both the team and the league. And Vallejo and Pittsburgh, I give those owners a lot of credit. They're sticking with it. They're still in the league, and they're trying to upgrade their both their ballparks and their whole marketing plans in order to attract more fans.
Do you guys do any kind of revenue sharing, or is pretty much everyone on their own?
No, there's no revenue sharing. Revenue is scarce enough as it is. And as I said last year, we were the first team in the league to show a small profit, and it's been 5 years to do it. And I think the other teams are trying to scale in that direction, but it takes time. And I'll tell you this: there's a couple of other critical factors that go in, again, for any of the audience thinking about independent ball, especially at the lower levels of it. It's very critical not only to have a nice facility where you have lights, sell beer and wine, and it's in a marketplace that will accept it, but you also have to have a full-time front office of at least 2 or 3 people who are working all year round to sell sponsorships, come up with promotional ideas, and to integrate the team with the community. And that's been one of the most difficult aspects of upgrading, particularly in Vallejo and Pittsburgh, upgrading their economic model, because they think that you can run a minor league team on a seasonal basis, and you can't. It's a full-time job. Sonoma does it, we do it, and we're hoping that in the future both Vallejo and Pittsburgh and any other teams that might join our league, we're hoping they'll all take that approach. The difficulty of that approach, of course, is we earn our revenue largely in 3 months, but if you on a staff on a year-round basis, you're having to do that at times when you're not making a lot of revenue.
How big is your staff, Mike? How many people are working for you?
So we have a full-time staff of 3 people. I serve as president, general manager. I clean the bathrooms. I do a little bit of everything, as we all do in this business. I have an assistant general manager, Vinny Longo, who helps sell sponsorship. He does all of our media work, and he's also our play-by-play guy for every game on radio. And we have Kim McGinnis, who's our vice president of sales and marketing, and a lot of the sponsorship sales fall on her to do. So it's a year-round aspect to the 3 of us, and then we have seasonal staff and a very large group of interns. We have 10 interns this summer. All of them are getting incredible experience in what it takes to operate a professional team. So we have a seasonal stadium operations person, a seasonal weekday game person, and a seasonal concessions manager who also happens to double as my wife.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Whenever I was doing play-by-play for you guys, whenever I wanted to get something to eat, I'd always go over to Jane's place, and she was nice enough to always feed us. Well, Edward and I are always fascinated with promotions. I don't know, Edward, if in the past you've been attracted to go to ball games because they were giving away a bobblehead or
Bat Day. I
Bat
remember
Bat Day was a big one. Well, you guys have come up with some very creative promotions. I remember the last few years you had the old left-hander Bill Lee came and pitched for you. Hank Greenwald, the former Giants announcer, has come by and is going to be feted, I think, in a couple of days. Tell us a little bit about the ideas you have to come up with to attract people.
So you have to be creative, and you have to be outside the box, and at times you have to be somewhat irreverent in order to attract people's attention. And as we were talking about earlier, particularly here in Marin County, a very eclectic, high demographic marketplace, you have to do the kinds of things that it takes to, like I'd like to tell people, to rise above the rubble, to attract their attention, to get them to come out to a ball game. And at the same time, to try to do some things that, because you're an independent baseball, you can do things that affiliated balls can't do. For example, the automated umpire that we've done with
Eric Burns.
With Eric Burns, and we had our players dressed in their own style dresses for breast cancer awareness. As you mentioned, Bruce, that we're going to honor Hank Greenwald on Friday night, and hope folks will come out and meet Hank. And we do a lot of celebrity appearances. We've had Soup Nazi from
That's right. I remember that one. That was fun.
And we bring out a lot of ball players like Dustin Baker, Orlando State, the folks that I had known
Yeah.
through the years from our days with the Giants. This year we've got Dave Trevecki coming out,
Oh, good.
and Richard Really is going to come out.
Huh.
We try to find a mixture of fun, irreverent, kind of goofy things to do, as well as introducing our fans to some of the great games from the past that helps us kind of honor the game of baseball.
Mike, stay with us because when we get back, we want to get into some of those fun promotions that a lot of people don't know that you do that are really funny. Okay, here's our first commercial break trivia question here. Only 3 U.S. cities have hosted the Summer Olympics. Which 3 cities? All right, the first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Only 3 U.S. cities have hosted the Summer Olympics. What 3 cities? All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back.
All right.
All right. Let's save this file here.
What a beautiful day, huh, Mike? It is a pretty day out there.
It's beautiful.
So I've always wanted to say, swung on, base hit up the middle. Vinny wouldn't let me do that, though.
Edward, I'm sorry, I've been so crazed, and then, I've been in the hospital. And
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
But I'm feeling great.
Good.
Oh, good.
It took a while. I lost a good month and a half.
Wow.
Wait, illness sucks. I gotta tell you something. It's
Yeah.
your new reality
Yeah.
and your new norm, and I didn't like it.
No, it's not much fun.
You know what's really crazy? My sister was trying to break up a fight between her cat and another cat, and her cat just turned around and bit her. Well, the thing is, when a cat bites you, first of all, their mouths are extremely dirty, eating mice and birds and stuff like that, and they're very sharp. So the wound closes up quickly. She spent a full week in the hospital.
Wow.
Can you believe it for a bite from a cat?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
much
God.
better to get bitten by a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Spending any time in a hospital sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful. I hated it.
Yeah.
But no, anyway, it's fine now. And
Good
so
deal.
anyway, we should get you out and let's talk about this. We've got a weekend series, and then just take a look at the schedule.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, sounds
Definitely.
good. Okay, ready? Here we go. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. And again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here is our first trivia question. Only 3 U.S. cities have hosted the Summer Olympics. Which 3 cities?
Well, I'm going to say, and see what Mike has to say about this. I know LA has hosted it twice, once
Yes.
in 1932 and once
Yes.
in 1984.
Very good.
But I'm not sure about. I can't
Okay,
remember.
well, okay, what was 1996?
Oh, Atlanta, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Now, the other one, you have to go back to 1904.
1904. Wow. Mike, you have any idea?
No, I was stuck on Atlanta because I was in Atlanta.
That's right.
Because of the Braves.
I completely forgot about that.
And I am old, but I don't.
Yeah, when he said you were associated at one point with the Washington Nationals, I said, yeah, but that was like the 1800s.
Right.
Yeah, 1904.
Right, 1904.
I'm sorry, St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Louis, actually.
Ah, yes. How
That's
could
when
we
they-
forget St.
Is that when
Louis?
they did the arch?
Yeah, well, the arch has been up since, what, the mid-60s, I think. Maybe the original.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, only the mid-60s. Yeah, only the mid-60s.
What was the World's Fair?
Well, I believe there was some kind of an exposition there. There was one in Chicago. I mean, there have been a lot of them over the years.
Gotcha.
But Mike Shapiro is joining us, and Mike alluded to the fact that he worked with the Braves, worked with the Nationals in their front offices, was the chief counsel for the San Francisco Giants back in the 1980s when Bob Lurie was the team owner. But we want to talk a little bit more about, Edward was alluding to the promotional ideas that you guys have to come up with, to be creative, to draw the crowd in, to get some media coverage. And I guess that's always been sort of the case with minor league ball. And it used to be the case with Major League Ball too. I mean, they came up with all sorts. Look at the idea of the midget with Eddie Goodell when Bill Veeck brought him in for the St. Louis Browns. So I guess you haven't come up with that one yet, have you?
Well, I would love to. It's already been done. But, you have to look at the history of things. And, Bill Veeck, who I consider, the godfather of all of this emotional stuff, that was a different era of the game. And it was the whole approach toward marketing was vastly different then. And it was before the big national television contract. And the other big change that, Bruce, you'll remember when we did Giants Vision with the Giants, when I first started with the Giants in early 80s, we didn't televise home games. And the approach then was that didn't want to depress attendance by putting it on TV, but we made the argument with Giants Vision, and then things changed, of course, with the outbreak of all the cable channels. That actually it helps attendance if you televise your games because it's like a 3-hour infomercial. You're showing off your players, you're showing off your facility, people are having fun, all of that, and then things changed in the marketing of baseball teams. And yes, now they still do a bobblehead here and there. There are still teams that are struggling for attendance and have to figure out how to get more people to the seats. But by and large, baseball attendance has risen pretty steadily, and the amount of money from television and other sources has risen. And so they struggle a lot less with having to come up with crazy creative marketing schemes than do the minor leagues, who are on a more local basis trying to fight to move the dials and get people's interest in each individual market.
Well, with the Giants having a good team since 2010, they don't hurt attendance at all by televising games because what are they sold out pretty much every game now?
Sold out every game since the middle of 2010.
Yeah.
But that's
In part, that's because the facility is great.
Yeah,
sure.
Having people's attention with the World Series and doing all of that, and I think the whole idea behind marketing a professional sports team has to do with a recognition of the variations and the characteristics of each individual market, as well as value of the facility you're in, and when you start doing an analysis of what it takes to market your team, those are the things you start thinking about. Who's in my market? Who's interested in my games? Who's not interested in my games? How do I reach out to them? And what can I do to make my facility more welcoming, more fun, more intimate? All of those kinds of factors go into figuring out what your marketing plan has to be.
And of course, you have to sell your players, and the players are. We haven't even talked about the young men who come, and a lot of them. I was talking to Edward about this. Most of them aren't going to get a shot at the major leagues. Maybe a couple of them made it as far as AAA, but they're young guys, generally late teenagers to mid 20s. Where do you get these players from? And tell us, maybe you can give us a story of one guy who has been with your team for a while.
Well, to answer your first question, Bruce, that where do they come from? Well, there's a lot of different sources. Now, primarily in the lower levels of independent baseball, we have probably, I would say, 3/4 of our players have been drafted and released at one point from affiliated teams. So they went through the draft either as collegiate players or high school players, got signed to these major league organizations, and lasted, on average 1 or 2 or 3 years, and then got released and still feel like they have it in them. All they need is a place to play and show off their skills, and that they can attract that attention again. The other quarter of the players we get are undrafted players for whatever reason. They got overlooked from their collegiate programs and are still struggling to get somebody to come look at them, and we provide that opportunity for them. So, in a lot of ways, not only does it serve a real purpose to the game of baseball to give these guys still one last chance to show off what they've got, but on the other hand, it does a lot of really good things to the major league teams that may have overlooked them. And witness that. We've had a player last year signed by the Padres. This year we had a player who's doing quite well in the White Sox organization. So we are beginning to show that the level of competition in our league is so good that these players are capable of playing at the affiliated level.
How many times do you invite a player and get turned down?
Oh, that's a great question, Edward. I think it happens more frequently than I prefer. That way to say it. I think when we sit down to start initially planning the roster, and then of course you have to make adjustments throughout the year because the guy doesn't perform as well as you thought he would, or it's an injury, or they do get called up to either a higher level of independent ball or to affiliated baseball. You have to make adjustments, and we're constantly looking for players. It just depends a lot on the time of year, because right in April and May, there's a lot of releases from the unaffiliated level. Those guys are scrambling around looking for places to play. So you get a lower level of guys saying, nah, I'm not interested in coming. But as the season goes on and people are looking to fill their rosters at higher levels, the competition's a lot greater to get quality players. And so therefore in July and in August, it's tougher to get players.
Well, plus they have to keep their skill levels up, so they got to play somewhere.
Play winter ball? I guess some of these guys go to other areas and they have winter leagues, don't they?
Well, if you're talking about during the off season, yes, there are winter leagues. There's a California Winter League. There's a Florida Winter League. There's a Puerto Rican Winter League. There's still play going on throughout the Caribbean. So there's a lot of opportunities to be playing during the off season, and that's why there's less competition to get players at the beginning of a season when there's a lot more inventory of available players. But as the season goes on, that inventory starts to shrink because everybody's signing. If there's a good player out there, somebody's going to sign him.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets harder and harder to sign good players. Once you're in the middle or toward the end of the season.
Well, you've had one guy, I believe, who's been with you all 5 years. Tell me if I'm wrong. An outfielder by the name of Mikael Hova, who is, I believe, is he from South America or the Caribbean?
Well, actually, Michael is from Cuba.
Oh, from Cuba. That's right. That's right.
Next
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Who would be somebody who's been with us, who's got an interesting story? Well, he has maybe the most interesting story I've ever heard in the game of baseball. Michael was a young player on the Cuban national team, and now we're going back a good 15, 18 years ago when the relationship with Cuba wasn't as open as it is today, and he decided that he wanted to play in the United States, so he and several other people got on a homemade raft and just set out from Cuba trying to make it to the Dominican Republic, and he got captured by the Coast Guard, I guess it was, and sent back to Cuba, lost his status on the national team, and his family suffered greatly by his attempt to escape. And undeterred, he actually got on another raft, and this time made it out and made it to the Dominican Republic, and then made it all the way up to AAA with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Wow.
Yeah, he's an incredible person and a great story, and ultimately, he had his minor league career in affiliated ball, and then he got released, and he at the top of his pyramid played independent ball and at a very high level, very successful level.
Well, Mike, just make sure you treat him well because we don't want him taking another raft leaving San Rafael. Okay?
You don't hear about a lot of people wanting to get on a raft and leave San Rafael.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That is true.
Now, if they're going to get on any kind of boat, it's probably going to be a really nice sail.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That's right. Mike, can you stay with us for one more segment?
Absolutely.
Okay, they're having a lot of fun here.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our second trivia question here. Name 3 sports which can involve a net but not a ball.
Interesting.
Actually, you know what's funny? I'm just realizing that one of these answers is not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it can involve a net but not a ball. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair.
Okay.
All right, the first email with the correct answer wins a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. It's funny because I was looking at this and I was going, wait a minute, this involves a net. That involves a net. Oh, yeah, the question is, it does involve a net. It can involve a net, but not a ball.
Okay.
All right, and my email for those who want to answer the question is edward@sportsecon101.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
That's a good question. I had no idea. No clue.
No clue?
No
Come
clue.
on.
No clue.
Come on,
How
man.
about you, Mike? You have any clue on that one?
No, not so.
Yeah.
No clue.
I was going to say plenty of sports with balls and nets, from basketball to volleyball to water polo to even golf at the driving range, but I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is my mom's name was Annette.
That's a good one. You got us there.
We won't get into ball.
There you go. There you go.
All right.
And we should have Mike tell some stories about some of the people he's crossed paths with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're almost ready to go here, Mike.
Yeah,
Thanks
because I
for
was
being
wondering,
patient.
what was it like to be counsel for a
For the
baseball?
Giants, yeah. I thought that's an interesting story. Very
All
interesting. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Bruce McGowan. Name 3 sports which can involve a net but not a ball.
Have not a clue. Maybe, no, I was going to say auto racing if there's a safety net.
No.
No.
Hockey.
Oh, of course, puck, right.
Hockey. Badminton.
Badminton, that's right. It's the birdie.
And the last one is fishing.
Fishing! Oh, my God.
Net.
Boy, how could we not get that?
Pretty good.
Oh, my gosh. Mike Shapiro is joining us. Mike is the owner and team president of the San Rafael Pacifics Independent League team. But before he came back to the Bay Area, where he had worked before, Mike worked with the Washington Nationals, before that the Atlanta Braves, and before that he was the chief counsel, that means a top lawyer for the San Francisco Giants. And Mike, you were starting your career, you mentioned, in the early 80s with the Giants and graduated into that position. What was that team like with Roger Craig and Jeffrey Leonard and Chili Davis and Will the Thrill Clark and Kevin Mitchell? Kind of a rousing group of characters, huh?
Well, yeah, and I think when I first started, you and I were hanging out there together, Bruce. It was a pretty dreadful team until Al Rosen came in as president and general manager and started changing the culture and the environment around that team. And, that was a team that, you'll remember they lost 100 games one year, and and they were playing in Candlestick Park, pretty dreadful. But when Al came in and started making some changes, the whole atmosphere became sort of more of a winning culture, and that meant a good drafting Will Clark, big change, bringing Matt Williams in as a young man, also not a draft choice, making the Kevin Mitchell, the Becky trade was huge, and bringing Roger Craig in. The whole culture of the Giants changed as a result of that, and the Al Rosen, Roger Craig era was one of a great deal of success.
And it was a lot of fun, too. I think one of the things that made it more enjoyable was you had such distinct personalities. We talked about Will Clark, who was very shrill and very intense, and Jeffrey Leonard, who was kind of brooding, and, he had that sort of tough exterior and sort of the inner city toughness. And, you put it all together, that's what a ball club is all about, the diversity of personalities and cultures sort of meshing together to represent a city.
Kevin Mitchell, too.
Oh, yeah. How could we forget Kevin Mitchell?
Yeah, well, I think even from the big league level all the way down, I think general managers in partnership with their field managers are constantly striving to create a chemistry among their players and are, tend to tinker a lot when they get guys into a clubhouse who may work or may not work, not only as what they do out on the field, but how they, you hear it all the time about clubhouse chemistry. Well, that's not totally accidental. I mean, I think a lot of people, and I know I do it at this level that we're at, is really think long and hard about who's gonna be a positive contributor to the chemistry of that team.
You guys are pretty good about not having too many harsh egos on the team. And is it just because it's independent ball, or it's just the makeup of the players themselves?
Well, I think there's a little bit of both there, Edward. I mean, first of all, anybody playing independent professional baseball by nature has to have a great deal of humility.
Sure.
I mean, either, like I said before, your history is such that you've either been overlooked by the system, or you got to look, and for whatever reason you got rejected. And so when you're playing at this level, you're at the bottom rung.
Well, I know a cure for that is to pay him 8 figures.
That would cure for something.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's a cure for the stability of a league.
It'll cure the humility part, though.
Well, speaking of humble, you really got to be a part of something that was, I imagine, very special when you moved to Atlanta. Atlanta doesn't strike me as a great sports town, and maybe it hasn't been a great baseball town, but boy, in the 1990s, there wasn't any better team than the Atlanta Braves. What was it like working with Atlanta during the time when John Schuerholz and Bobby Cox were there, and you had so many great players, whether it was Chipper Jones or John Smoltz or Tom Glavine or Dave Justice? I mean, that was really a special group, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but I will tell you the one name that you did not mention, and I have a great deal of respect and learned a great deal from watching John Schuerholz at work every day as a brilliant general manager. But there was one name you didn't mention, and that's Stan Kasten.
Oh, yeah.
Stan, who I consider to be one of my mentors in learning the business of this industry.
Team president, correct, Mike? He was
Stan was team president,
right.
and at one time he was both the team president and general manager.
Really?
Of both the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Hawks.
Wow.
Yeah, Stan has an incredible background and brilliant man, and someone I have a great deal of respect and affection for. And he taught me so much about this business. And then Stan and I again were joined together when we were working at the Nationals. Stan was president of the Nationals, and I was senior vice president. We were able to rejoin with one another. And then there's one more name that's associated with that Atlanta organization, a name that virtually nobody has ever heard of, a guy named Bob Wolf. And Bob was the executive vice president. He was sort of the Corey Bush who brought me into the Giants organization. Bob Wolf was also the executive vice president for the Braves, and then again, then with the Nationals, and both Stan and Bob are running the Dodgers now. And the combination of Sherrill on the baseball side, Stan sort of overseeing everything and dealing with Ted Turner and dealing with the whole Turner organization, and then Bob Wolf running day-to-day operations was absolutely a magical combination.
And Ted Turner was kind of a tempestuous character, you know, sort of larger than life, almost mythical. I mean, he changed a lot of things that happened in sports. Was it an easy guy to get to know, or did you get a chance to ever really socialize and talk with him very much?
Yeah, no, he was a very accessible guy, and for me to some degree, because I served as general counsel for the Braves as well, and so consequently my office was in CNN Center, not at either Atlanta Fulton County Stadium or later at Turner Field. I was sort of closer to the corporate side of the Turner Sports Organization, and then became vice president of Turner Sports after that, and so consequently had many opportunities to work with Ted, or for Ted, I should say, and found him to be utterly charming, interesting, fascinating, tempestuous, yes, brilliant, all of those things. I was amazed at my opportunity to have that kind of access and connection with Ted Turner.
So with legal, the head legal department, were you negotiating contracts, or what was actually your position, specifically being lead counsel?
Yeah, it was a wide variety of both baseball and business-related in terms of operating and running a sports team. So for the Giants, I started out as general counsel and then became vice president general counsel, where I had control. I was given responsibility for all of the legal aspects of running a team, which could range from player contracts on the one side all the way down to sponsorship agreements, luxury suite contracts, a lot of internal employment issues, things like that. And at the Braves, it was much the same. And then the Nationals, I just oversaw business operations.
We should mention that Mike Shapiro, our guest, is, I say this with all due respect to anybody who loves the game of baseball. He is truly a baseball lifer. Played the game as a kid, played it all the way into the college level, and realizing that you couldn't make a professional career out of being a player, did the next best thing. So you kind of lived a dream life, so to speak, Mike. You followed your passion and you stayed with it even during some of the tough times.
Well, yeah, I have had that great opportunity to be a part of the game for the better part of the last 35 years, having left college as a player and then did not get drafted. I suffer from two maladies. I'm both short and left-handed.
But you got a short left-hander playing center field, by the way, for the Pacifics, don't you, Zach Pace?
I had the good fortune to have been with three major league teams. I took both the good side and the bad side of all that. It sounds romantic and it sounds terrific, and parts of it were, but on sort of the downside of that cycle is also the fact that you don't get to spend a lot of time with your family.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we left Washington and came back here and started the Pacifics and the Association of the League was, my kids were growing up without me, and I didn't go to little league games or science fairs or and I wanted to be a part of my kids' lives. I mean, they got to hang out in the clubhouse, and they got to be little celebrities in their own world because their dad was running the Nationals, and they became clubhouse kids and that sort of thing. That's those are moments in time compared to the day-to-day raising of kids that I wanted to be a part of, and so that was the reason we came back here to Marin County, and the only thing I know how to do is run a baseball team. So we decided to try to start our own baseball team, bought into this independent team, and I got to tell you guys, I've never been happier in my life. I enjoyed this far more than I enjoyed my career in Major League Baseball.
And it truly is a family business. You mentioned your wife Jane is involved with the concessions. Your son worked for a while. I mean, and you've been able to raise your family and keep them together during some challenging times, which is not easy in this world of professional sports. People romanticize it, but it does require, as you mentioned, a lot of time away from the family. But you've been able to bring the family into the fold, so to speak, with this new enterprise.
Well, that was indeed the idea behind us doing this, was that we wanted to have our own little family business, and we wanted to do something that we all did together. The kids are growing up; they're going to be out of the house and probably, not wanting to talk to me much more. so we wanted to have something that we did as a family, and Jane, who's a fabulous cook, my wife Jane, who will remember, she was with the Giants. That's where we met. She was a security guard there, and then ultimately became the assistant to the stadium ops guy. Anyway, Jane is a fabulous cook, and she does all the cooking in our games, and it runs as she can. My older son Harry, who had been scouted by the White Sox, unlike me, he's 6'4" and good looking, and great finger fastball. Anyway, he decided that baseball wasn't going to be for him, so now he's working at the new Perry's restaurant, and he handles our bar here at the ballpark. And my younger son Jackson, who's now a junior at Syracuse, is our clubhouse manager. So, and by the way, I should mention, this will crack you up, Bruce. So we've had a couple injuries in our pitching staff, and we were talking about how hard it is to find players at this time of year. We had my son Harry out throwing a bullpen, and he was rushing it up there at 87, 88.
Oh, there you go.
We were coming close to signing him because we needed an emergency arm.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, if being left-handed is only bad if you're a catcher or a shortstop.
Well, if you're short and left-handed, it's pretty limited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike Shapiro.
Yeah,
Thank you so much
Mike's
for,
great always
joining us.
catching up with you, and wish you best of success, continued success with the San Rafael Pacifics.
Well, thank you guys. It's a pleasure. I love doing this, and look forward to doing it again with you.
Very good. Thanks
Definitely.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Good guy.
Good guy. He's a really good guy.
He's a baseball lifer. What can I
I
tell you?
appreciate it, his attitude about his family too, because
Yeah.
that stuff you can never get those.
No,
years
you
back.
can't.
All right, so here's our last trivia question: for how many consecutive years in the 2000s did baseball superstar Barry Bonds win the National League MVP award?
How many times?
How many consecutive years?
Oh, okay, good,
Right,
good.
in the 2000s. All right, that's our question. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer, and don't touch that dial because we're going to come back with that answer and some closing comments. Okay.
Send Mike a quick,
Such a good guy.
he was a great guy. Yeah.
He's got his own little, his humble attitude. Too.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that.
I've known Mike a long time. Like I said, I used to date his wife briefly in between. He was going out with her, then they were broken up for a while, and I was dating all sorts of women. I went out with her a couple times.
And see, it took you dating her to finally get him to realize, hey, I love this woman. I got to have her back.
Yeah.
But it's good that you guys can stay,
Oh, yeah.
because
It actually did create a little friction between us there for a while. Not with me, but with him, because he was really into her, and I was like, it's not that big a deal,
And he's short and you're tall, and,
I know, it's kind of silly. His wife is tall. She's almost 6'1".
Really?
Yeah, so his kids are big
Big,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah. She's a big redhead. She's a very sweet gal.
Well, what position did he play in college?
He was an outfitter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Kirby Puckett was small.
He was. There have been several. Look at Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
He's got, 18 home runs? Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
All right, let's get some closing comments. Yeah.
Get Brian Murphy here.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Third final trivia question. For how many consecutive years in the 2000s did baseball superstar Barry Bonds win the national MVP?
I think he won it 5 times in a row.
Close.
3 times?
No.
4.
Yes.
4 times in a row. It's still pretty amazing. I
I know.
think he won 6 or 7 with the Giants.
I
Something
don't
like
remember
that.
how many he won total, but
Yeah.
4 in a row. I mean, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. Well, from the time about 2000 until about 2004, he was just, in a different world.
Then 2001 to 2004 is when he won it.
And you'd see him maybe get one good pitch to hit every other day.
That's the important thing. A lot of people don't realize that.
No.
And what was it? 2002. That's when he set the record, right?
Yeah, well, no, 2001 he set the record. 2002 he had 370. 370.
No, I mean for home runs.
For a home run
for
for in a season, that was 2001.
2001.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Interestingly enough, the Giants didn't win it in 2001. They were eliminated from the divisional race, but they won the pennant the next year in 2002.
Please don't remind me of that. I'm still.
Oh, you're talking about the World Series?
Yes.
Yeah, with the Angels. That was a tough one.
I'm very upset about that.
Well, they had never won before, and they were on the verge of winning. They let it get away.
Let it get away.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we're going to go to our thoughts of the day. LL Cool J said, I try to do the right things with money. Save $1 here and there, clip some coupons, buy 10 gold chains instead of 20.
Well, you got to show a little restraint.
Little restraint,
Yeah.
4 summer homes instead of 8.
Sure,
Right?
sounds
Okay.
good.
And he also said, a man can make money, but money can't make a man.
Oh, that's right.
Now, that's very good.
Yeah, I like that.
one.
That's good.
Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. We're also going to be giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. And hopefully we'll have, Brian Murphy on?
Brian Murphy from KNBR, a longtime sports writer, also from the Bay Area.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be fun. And we definitely enjoyed having Mike Shapiro.
Mike Shapiro was with us
owner
from
and president of the baseball San Rafael Pacifics. I wonder what it's like starting a league. I mean, that's a huge undertaking. It's one thing to come in afterward.
It's not easy. Well, give him credit. 5 years running now. They kept their heads above water.
Good guy. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
See you later, I should say.
Good night, America.
Good night,
So
America.
long.
That's good. See you night.
You forgot your tagline.
Forgot my tagline. Jeez. God almighty. Bruce? Come on.
I've done that a couple times.
Oh, my God.